Hello, my name is Bonnie, and this is my channel, A Knitter Obsessed. This is my knitting podcast, and I have quite the update for you guys today. So, it's been about 3 weeks since my last knitting podcast. It's a bit longer than I like to do them. I usually like to do them every 2 weeks, but I was a little under the weather last week, which I apologize for. Feeling a lot better today, so I'm excited to catch you guys up on some stuff. I don't have any finished objects, but I do have several whips and a lot of acquisitions, and some swatches, which is exciting. So let's get into it. My first whip. This is one that I shared my one time in my very first podcast episode, and it's just been hibernating for months. And so I finally just had the urge to pick it back up and get working on it. And I haven't done a ton, but since it was hibernating for months, I think any work on it is pretty exciting at this point. But I worked on my Hue Shift Afghan a little bit. So this is a metered square blanket. You end up making 4 panels that are 5 squares by 5 squares, and then you seam the 4 different panels together. So it's going to be quite a big blanket. And then at the end, you also make a border for the whole thing, which I have black yarn for. So last time I showed it, I only had 6 squares. Now I have 16. So I got 10 of them done. Each square takes maybe a little under an hour. They're not that bad. They're really good TV knitting, because it's about 1 episode of TV, which is really nice. And honestly, what's pretty cool about this project is before I started this project, I had never done anything where I had to pick up stitches before. And for some reason, I actually found the idea of picking up stitches to be really intimidating, which I can't, now that I've done it for, not just this project, but garments and other things, like it's not an intimidating process because I actually quite enjoy it most of the time. But for some reason, I found it really intimidating for a very long time, and I would completely avoid projects that involved that technique. And this was the one where I took the plunge. And I do think that if you are looking for practice at picking up your stitches and keeping it, neat and just doing it over and over and over again, the repetition, this is a great project for that. Because, it's every single time you want to start a new square, you're picking up at least one of the edges, and most of the time you're picking up 2. And it's very forgiving. The back is, it's the back of a blanket, so it doesn't have to look perfect, but it still looks quite neat and nice. I actually really like the back of this, like the way the stripes look. It's a great project for that. I feel like I've gotten picking up stitches is second nature now after only 10 extra squares, so. And it's been a lot of fun because just the nature of this blanket, the way the gradient works, I had a hard time really seeing how the pattern was going to work out for the first couple of columns. And it's just been in the last few squares that all of a sudden it's really making sense to my brain, and it's looking really cool, and it's been really exciting to work on. And I've been looking forward to picking it up and working on it. So I'm really happy this came back around. I'm sure it'll go into hibernation on and off in its lifetime, because like I said, it's going to be a really big blanket, so I want to make sure I have periods where I'm working on it and it's making progress. But this could be a project I could very easily burn myself out on, so I'm trying not to push it too hard. Like, if it's sounding good, yes. But if anything else is sounding better, I let myself put this down and go work on something else. I did forget to mention before I talk anymore. So this is the Hue Shift Afghan by Kerin, Dimeler-Laurence. This is a pattern on Knit Picks. So I just have all my pattern information written down here. This is a pattern available on Knit Picks. I actually bought it as a kit from Knit Picks, so they sent all of the yarn for it, all in one bundle, which is very nice. And it's knit entirely on Knit Picks. I believe it's Mighty Stitch. This is Knit Picks Mighty Stitch. This is worsted weight, and it is 80% acrylic and 20% superwash wool. So completely machine washable, which is great for an Afghan, any sort of blanket. And there are 10 different colors this is made out of, plus the black for the border. So I don't remember the names of every single color I'm working with, but they're a lot of fun. It's just, I've got a whole box of rainbow yarn over there, which brings me a lot of joy every time I get to dig into it. And yeah, I like this yarn. It's fine. It's kind of slippery on my needles, if I'm going to be really honest. And so that can be a little frustrating, but it's good yarn. There's nothing wrong with it. It's incredibly soft. And it's going to be a lovely, just drapey, cuddly blanket at the end of all this, which is what I want. So yeah, so this is my Hue Shift Afghan. This is supposed to be a gift for one of my nieces, and my goal is to get it done by Christmas so I can get it to her as a Christmas gift. So still have quite a bit of time, but I do need to make sure I'm making some progress on it throughout the year. So happy to get some work done on this. I'm actually really, really excited to get like one full square done so you can see like a whole corner of the gradient. I think that's going to really make this project super exciting once I get like that little feeling of completion. But yeah, so that's my first work in progress. My next work in progress, you've seen many times, but I've made quite a bit of progress on it, is my Wishbone Sweater by Veronika Lindberg. Also, she goes by Kudavakika on YouTube. She has a great channel. Highly recommend her. But yeah, so last time I showed this on a podcast, I was right at this stitch marker right here. As you can see my little mushrooms there. So this was, I think, one cable repeat away from finishing the shoulder shaping before you split for the front and back portions. And so since then, I have knit the entire back portion, I've knit the entire front portion, and I've joined them together and knit, I think I just did one pattern repeat worth of length so far. And at that point, I finished the ball of mohair that I was working with, and I felt like that would just be a good time to pick up a sleeve. So I've got the little bit of a sleeve. I picked up the sleeve last night, and yeah, I've already got about this much done. And I am still loving this project. I've allowed myself to slow down on it just a little bit due to the fact that we are rapidly getting into some warmer weather here in California, and I just have this knowledge in the back of my mind that, I mean, I could finish this tomorrow and there's no way I'm going to be able to wear it for like 4 months minimum, unless we go on a currently unplanned vacation somewhere cold, which I don't think is going to happen. And so I'm still super excited to knit. I've still been enjoying knitting it. Like I said, I knit, I've been working on the sleeve today because it's a ton of fun to knit. But I am also giving myself space, sort of like the Hue Shift Afghan, but like if something else is speaking to me right now, if something else feels good, if I don't feel like doing ribbing, because this is all ribbing, I'm allowing myself to put it down and walk away from it and just know that this is a long-term project. It can take some time. I don't need to crazy obsessively knit this one because I honestly can't even wear it anyways. So that's where we're at. And I mean, just for some context there, because this is not the podcast episode was not the last episode that I showed this. It was the last podcast episode I did an update on. Last episode I talked about this on was my knit and chat that I did 2 weeks ago. So in that knit and chat, if you watched that one, I had actually was almost to the point of joining under the sleeves, and so I'd already done the back panel and almost all the front panel, and that was only 1 week's worth of knitting for me. And then I pretty much put this down until about 2 days ago. So then the rest of it all happened in the last couple of days. So while I say this is, an update after 3 weeks, I only actively knitted on it for about a week. So when I'm knitting it, it goes so much faster than you would expect. And it is just really addictive. It's an 8-row pattern repeat, and those 8 rows go faster than you expect, and then you get to cable again, and it's a lot of fun. I love this pattern. I love knitting it. Can't recommend it enough. And then I did just want to show off, there's some details that I finally am getting, far enough in the pattern to appreciate, and I love them so much. So like, if you can see where I picked up the sleeves, it's such a neat edge right here. This line, this vertical line of the twisted rib right there, and it's on both sides, and it's just so neat and just tidy looking, and I love it so much. And then same thing if you do, I've actually completed all of the decrease rounds for the sleeve already, but you can just see how nicely those decreases line up. And it's such a well thought out part of the pattern itself. Like, even though it's under my arm and very few people are going to see it, those decreases are so neat and tidy and so just designed. And yeah, I'm so in love with this. I think it's gorgeous. So I cannot wait to keep making progress on this. It is going to be a heavy sweater. Like, it like wants to stand up on its own. This thing is like beefy. So definitely a winter sweater. It's going to be incredibly warm. But yeah, it is gorgeous. I don't think I mentioned it, but this is knit in with one strand of Sandnes Garn Double Sunday in the color Deep Red, and one strand of Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the color Claret. It makes such a soft fabric. It is gorgeous. Yeah, this is stunning. And yeah, like I said, can't wait to keep working on this. I'm loving the process. I thought that the twisted rib would drive me crazy, but it's actually quite meditative. In a way that, like, I feel like a lot of people like plain stockinette stitch because it's really meditative, and plain stockinette for me can kind of feel a little tedious. And oddly enough, the twisted rib is almost more meditative for me than the plain stockinette on other projects. I can't explain it. It's it keeps my hands just slightly more busy, and yeah, it's nice. I can do it way longer than I expected that I could. Yeah, and I think part of that is that it's on slightly bigger needles. This is knit on size 8 needles, which is a little, I think I've been knitting everything lately on like 5s and 6s, and so the 8s are a little bigger, they're a little easier on my hands with the twisted rib, and yeah, really just been enjoying the process on this a ton. So I think that's all I have to say about it for now, but this is my Wishbone Sweater by Veronika Lindberg. And yeah, hopefully I'll have another good update for this on the next podcast, because this is very much a current, very active work in progress. All right, so my last work in progress is one that I haven't mentioned on this channel at all before. Not the yarn, not the pattern. None of it was on my radar until very, very recently. And then all of a sudden I was very excited about it and had to cast it on right away. And yeah, so without further ado, this is my Ranunculus sweater. So I have the whole yoke done. It is very bunchy and will look much, much better after blocking. And I already have it all the way done. I'm doing the short sleeves. The sleeves are totally cast off. These are done. And I'm just down to needing to do the stockinette on the body for quite a few inches and the final ribbing. So yeah, we are already in the home stretch on this sweater, and this is the first time I'm even talking about it. So yeah, this is obviously, everybody knows about the Ranunculus. This pattern is everywhere, but this is by Midori Hirose. It is a beautiful circular yoke sweater, and yeah, and I'd seen the Ranunculus all over the place, ever since I got back into knitting, even before then. And it just was not anything that really spoke to me necessarily. Like, it's the front page of Ravelry all the time. It's always in the super hot right now patterns, but it just didn't grab me. And it's because this is the picture when it pops up as, on Ravelry and all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, that is a beautiful sweater. It's stunning, but it just isn't anything I would ever wear. And you know, I didn't feel left out not knitting it. It was okay. I'm like, that's just not my style. It's fine. And then the other day, or at this point a couple of weeks ago, I was on YouTube scrolling around and the algorithm knows me and it was showing me all sorts of knitting content. And I don't remember the YouTuber right now. I will link it down below, and I'll list it up here. But there was a video about 5 things, like 5 popular things that I will never knit and why. That might not be the exact name of it, but again, I'll put all the information in the description box below. And I was just curious, and I was like, okay, I love a good hot take. Like, let's see what she's got. And there were, you know, I don't even remember what the other 4 things in the video were, but one of them was the Ranunculus. And as soon as she said it, I was like, yeah, I'm with you. Like, I don't really feel like knitting the Ranunculus either. And she was like, yeah, I don't like the shape. It's not something I'll ever wear. And I'm like, absolutely, 100% on board. And then she posted this picture of the Ranunculus, which is like the second picture in the pattern if you actually click on the pattern, like on the pattern page, I mean. And she was saying how she's considered knitting the lace version, the lace weight version, but still doesn't think it'd be something she'd wear. And I had to pause the video and just stare at this picture and sit in awe of how beautiful it was for several seconds. And suddenly I was gonna knit a Ranunculus. This video was not out to tell me to knit one, and that was all I took away from the entire video. Like I said, I don't remember the other 4 things she talked about. They didn't stick, but what stuck is that I'm going to knit a Ranunculus. It's gonna be in lace weight yarn, and I'm going to love the heck out of it. And thus, this sweater came into existence. So I went online, and I'm gonna go through all of my acquisitions after this. I have quite a few because I had a little bit of a spending party a couple weeks ago, which is always fun. But this is knit in Miss Babs yarn. This is Yet. I have it all rolled up into a ball, and I believe the colorway is Plum. And I have a skein, yeah, that I haven't wound up yet. So yeah, the colorway is Plum. This is Yet. It's a heavy lace yarn. It's 65% merino wool and 35% tussa silk. 400 yards or 365 meters per 62 grams. And it's just gorgeous. You can see the shine on it. Yeah, here, do a nice little bundle here. Yeah, absolutely stunning. It's so soft. This yarn is a dream. And you can see, it's gonna be hard to see in the sweater just because of how crumply it is. But there is just the slightest variation in the color. It's a little bit of a tonal yarn. And I think it's stunning. Like, you just get the occasional little like slightly darker stripe, and I think it actually adds to the sweater so much. This is supposed to be knit on size 10 needles, and I did gauge swatch. I started to gauge swatch on that, and it just looked like I was trying to knit fishnet stockings. Like, it wasn't quite the look I was going for. So I went down to a size 9, and it wasn't much better. And I couldn't do a size 8 because I have those needles on my Wishbone Sweater, and I didn't feel like taking them off at the time. And I did notice on the project notes that Midori has for that beautiful picture version of the sweater that I like, she has listed size 7 needles. And so I was like, okay, let's try a size 7. And so I did a little gauge swatch, which I've got here, a little baby gauge swatch. And I was like, that's it. That's the opacity that I want. Like, it's definitely sheer, but it's not fishnet sheer. And yeah, so that's I went with the size 7 needle. It is massively off gauge. Like, like, I don't remember what my stitch count was, but it wasn't anywhere near stitch or row gauge close to what the sweater was calling for. And I was like, it's fine. We're just gonna knit it anyways. We're gonna size up a couple sizes. It's gonna be fine. And so I cast this on a week and a half ago. I had a business trip out to Phoenix. I had to fly to Phoenix and back in the same day. Perfect. Get a ton of knitting done. And I knit pretty much the entire yoke in that one day. The next day I did the raglan increases. And then I realized this was right when I started feeling sick last weekend before, you know, I couldn't do the video and stuff, that I had made a really weird mistake in my raglan increases. So basically, you know, when you do raglan increases, you're increasing, you know, on the front seam and then the back seam around the sleeves. And so she has you put all the stitch markers in, and then the pattern says something, you know, like knit to 1 stitch before the stitch marker, do your increase, slip, do your increase, repeat. And like I said, I wasn't feeling great and I wasn't really thinking straight, and I was just sort of autopiloting. And I did that for every single marker on the sweater, including the beginning of round marker, the center back, which, yeah, there shouldn't be a raglan increase there at all. So I was all done with the sleeves. I literally had the sleeves bound off. I was connected under the underarms, and I went to move my beginning around marker because the pattern tells you to, and I was like, no. Oh no. That looks insane. What did I do? And so, again, not feeling well, not thinking straight, not doing, you know, not being my best, I decided to frog back to, you know, before the raglan increase. And I was just finding it so fiddly to pick the stitches back up with this lace weight yarn. And I was like, you know what? You don't feel good, and that was 1 day, maybe 2 days worth of knitting. Just do it again. Just reknit the sweater. So I actually frogged the entire thing. I recast it on last Saturday, and yeah, so this is my second time knitting this sweater. And I will say, so I did learn one really good thing. So before I frogged back, after the before ripping back the raglan part, I did try it on, and it was too small. So even going up a couple of sizes, it wasn't going to cut it. It was really tight under my underarms. And so when I reknit it, I added an extra stockinette row, plain stockinette row in several places. I also sized up sort of like 1.5 more sizes. I'd call this probably like a 5.5. I split the increases between the size 5 and the size 6. I tried it on after I got connected under the underarms again, and it's fitting so much better. So it's definitely not as oversized as like most of the pictures show that the sweater is in most of the samples, but I like it. I think it's very flattering on me. I think it's going to be a lovely summer garment that I get a lot of wear out of. I do think if I was going for the look that Midori has in all of her samples, I would have needed to cast on more stitches just in general. Like, I would have needed to start off with more stitches with this gauge that I have going on right now. But for me, I think this is going to be stunning, and I am so excited for it. And yeah, so this is a week's worth of knitting. I'm hoping, my goal, my dream would be to get it done and blocked and dry by Thursday, because I'm going to knit night at my local yarn store, and I feel like this would be really fun to wear there while I go and work on probably my Wishbone sweater. But we'll see. It depends on how the rest of the week goes and how I'm feeling, and if nothing else pops up, and if I don't get distracted. But yeah, so Ranunculus by Midori Hirose. Love this. This is so much, okay, even knitting it twice, so much fun to knit. I get why people knit multiples of these. This is a very engaging knit. The pattern is really well written. Every single stitch, like, in the pattern she has a video for, and the videos are super clear and helpful. Seriously, I get it now. I get why this is such a popular pattern. It's amazing. But yeah, I can't wait to have this finished. I hope I have it finished soon. I'm really excited to wear it. So, and like I said, I was letting myself take breaks on the Wishbone Sweater because it's very off-season knitting. And I don't own any summer garments, so when this popped into my brain and I wanted to knit it, I let this kind of take over and take the lead for a while because, yeah, this one is season appropriate. This one I can wear as soon as it's finished, and yeah, hopefully gets a lot of wear this summer. I'm excited. So that is it for my whips. Next, I think I'd like to show off a couple of swatches. Does this kind of also feel like whips, you know? So the first one was my swatch for my Ranunculus, so that one's good. And then the next one is, I mentioned in, I think my first podcast episode that I was planning to knit something. I hadn't really decided yet, but with knitting for olive pure silk. And so I have it in the, I think it's the plum rose colorway. And I just knit up a little stockinette sample on, I believe this is a US 2.5 or a 3mm knitting needle. And yeah, it's gorgeous. The drape on this, I mean, it's silk. I know that shouldn't be surprising, but it's so nice. It is a little bit more transparent than I was hoping. And this is, so I was thinking about the Cumulus tea, I believe. There's a lot of Cumulus ones that she has, but by Petit knit was what I had originally been thinking for this. And so that calls for US 2.5 needles. And I believe my gauge is off. I think my gauge is a little looser than hers, and I would probably need to size down to a US 2. And so then it wouldn't be as open. It would be a much tighter knit, which would be nice. But the more I think about it, the more I'm not sold on the Cumulus tea, mostly just because I think it'll be a little boring to knit. As I mentioned, I love the look of plain stockinette, and I feel like it has its place. Like, it's all plain stockinette for my Ranunculus here on forward, and I'm not actually that excited about it, like doing it. But I also know it's going to be stunning, so it's fine. But the Cumulus tea is so much plain stockinette on very tiny needles. And I'm just not feeling that excited about it. And it's a raglan. I've now done several raglans, and I just, I like them. I'm not saying anything wrong about a raglan, but like a raglan with like not much else, like not much of a twist right now just doesn't feel super engaging and super exciting. So I don't know. I'm thinking there's a few other tops that I'm eyeing on Ravelry. I'm trying to decide between quite a few of them, and I'm just not sure yet. I think I need to do more swatching and more experimenting and figuring out what's going to work in my brain. But I do really like this fabric, and it was, you know, fine to work with the silk. I liked it. So this will be hopefully another summer garment here coming up pretty soon, which I'm excited about. And then I think this is a very exciting, swatch. And then I'm going to do swatch first, and then this is another acquisition. So yeah, well, I'll show you the swatch, and then I'll talk about the acquisition, because this one makes me very happy. But this is Manchalope yarn by Wool Dreamers as a swatch. So this I knit up on US 10 or 5mm needles. Nope, 6mm needles. Sorry. I think of my needle sizes in the US sizes, and I'm trying to train myself to think about the millimeters, because I do feel like it's like more relevant information to know when you're sizing up and down how many millimeters you're changing. But I've always thought about it in the US, so I'm trying to train myself. But yeah, so if you've been watching my podcast, I think it was episode 2, I had talked about a little reward for myself if I reached 1,000 subscribers. And I very quickly, after making that video, reached 1,000 subscribers. So thank you guys so much for watching and for subscribing to my channel. Like, seriously, this has been so much fun, and I this whole thing has been so, so, so exciting. And I'm loving making this podcast. This has been so much fun, and I'm so glad you guys are liking it. But as a celebration for reaching 1,000 subscribers, my husband wanted to buy me yarn. And so he asked me what kind of special yarn I wanted, what would be fun to, knit into a project, and I could like document the process on the channel. And he was so excited to be supportive. And the one that came to mind was some unspun yarn, because I've never worked with it before. And so that was what I went with. And there were also, in the comments, I got a lot of other amazing ideas for yarn to try, and I actually would love to list those in the description box below so that everyone else can see them too, because I want to buy all the yarns. Like, seriously, everybody's suggestions, I went and looked into all of those yarns, and I have plans for all of them, and probably I'm going to end up buying all of them. So I might have a problem. It's fine. But but I was just really excited about the Manchelobies, and so I ended up going with it, and it was very interesting to knit just the swatch. This is a whole different experience. I feel like it'll take a little bit of practice. And my plan for this is to knit the Mile Shirt Jacket by Ozetta. I just think that is a garment I will get so much wear out of. I'm always like stealing my husband's shirts and wearing those as overshirts and stuff all the time, and so I feel like this is a very similar style and idea of that. And so yeah, very me. I will wear the heck out of this this shirt. Sorry, forgot the word shirt. And so yeah, I'm very excited for that. That is 100% the plan for this. But my gauge is off, so not a ton. It's just off by a stitch. I can't remember what the gauge is, but mine is very slightly looser, which is really interesting. Usually that's not the direction my gauge goes, but it went looser on that and with the soft silk mohair. So maybe I'm just becoming more relaxed. I don't know. And usually I think like one stitch wouldn't bother me. It'd be fine. But the Mile Shirt Jacket is already so oversized that I do want to try knitting another swatch on a US 9 needle, and just to see if that gets me a little closer. Because I do feel like I'm going to have some problems knitting this 2 off gauge and just having the garment get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so yeah, I definitely want to try that and see. I might still end up going with the US 10 depending on how the other swatch goes, but we'll see. But I am so excited, and I was between the dark brown color and I think it's like dark natural gray or natural gray. I'll put up a picture, but I was between both of those 2 colors, and I was scrolling through the pattern, the projects in Ravelry, and I did see someone knit it in the dark brown, and it looked so good, and I just was like, yeah, no, that's it. I love that one. It's so good. So this is another one. It would be an incredibly off-season knit. This is going to be a big, cozy, oversized, warm, like jacket essentially. And so yeah, jacket. So I'm excited to cast it on. I'm not saying I'm gonna wait till fall or anything to cast it on, because I'm not necessarily a seasonal knitter, but I am going to try and get a couple of summer garments knit this year so that I can wear them. So this might be on the back burner for a little bit, but that does not mean I am not like thrilled about it. Like maybe once I get my Wishbone sweater done, like this will be my next one. Like maybe I'll just have a thing where I always have one really heavy sweater being knit at a time, no matter what the season. But yeah, and if you want to see, I got like a whole stack of it. Like, this is so good. This makes me so happy. And it's just like, I have a thing for like yarn where you can still see all the grass and like vegetable material in there from the sheep wool. Like, it just reminds you that we're working with natural fibers from animals. And I think that's so cool. I mean, it's a pain a little bit to have to pick grass out of your yarn as you're knitting it. And I definitely still have grass in some of the sweaters that I've knit recently with yarn like that. But I don't know. There's something about it that makes me so happy. And it's just, this stack of 4 is so light. Like, this weighs nothing at all. Like, this jacket's going to be lighter than air. It's going to be insane. I'm so intrigued by it. So yeah. Thank you so much for getting me 1,000 subscribers so quickly. Like, thank you guys so much for watching. This is my reward from my husband, and yeah, could not be more excited to knit this up. It will be cast on relatively soon. But yeah, so this is my first, probably most exciting acquisition I wanted to talk about. That being said, I do have a lot of other acquisitions as well. Like I said, I went a little crazy. So when I placed the order on Miss Babs for the Yet to make my Ranunculus sweater, which was the reason I was on Miss Babs, which was also a recommendation in the comment section when I was talking about the yarn for getting 1,000 subscribers. So I guess this is like, my Miss Babs order is like almost an addition. I ordered it at the same time that I ordered the Mantula piece. So it's like this whole bundle is sort of my 1,000 subscriber celebration. But yeah, I was looking very specifically for yarn for the Ranunculus. I thought that this lace weight looked promising, and I was a sucker, as I sometimes am, and got a little hooked into the free shipping deal. And so if you spend so much, you get free shipping, and it wasn't anywhere near, you know, getting it, but, you know, more yarn. Why not just try and get free shipping too? It was not like a financially reasonable decision, but it's the decision I made. And so I was looking around and I saw this yarn, and I just loved the color of it so much. So this is Killington. It's a DK weight yarn. It's 85% Polwarth wool, 15% Tussa silk. There's 350 yards per 120 grams. And yeah, this is the color Russet. So it's this beautiful, like rusty red, reddish brown color. And I just loved it. And I thought, I own quite a few things that are kind of in this color, and I find them to be very flattering on me. It's very much in my color scheme. But there was only one skein left. And I wasn't sure what I would make with one skein of a DK weight yarn. And so I was thinking, maybe I could do something with stripes, which is how I ended up with this one. So this one is also Killington yarn. This is in the color Old Gold. And I was picturing something with these two striped together. And I'm kind of thinking like big chunky stripes, like really just big, even, chunky stripes. And in my head, I'm thinking like a V-neck t-shirt. I'm not really sure why. It's almost got like these two together gives me kind of like 70s vibes in a way that I'm very into. And so there are a couple of patterns that I'm looking at that do have this like, you know, like V-neck shirt kind of look to them. But then my issue is that these are DK weight. And if I want to do a t-shirt, DK weight t-shirt, like wool t-shirt, is going to be pretty dang warm. But I don't really have enough yardage to comfortably make most sweaters. Like I'm like just shy. So I don't know. I'm pondering what to do with these. The one idea I'm thinking of is getting a third yarn and doing, you know, a third stripe color or something and making a full-size sweater. But I'm just not sure yet. Or maybe I just have a very warm t-shirt. That's also a possibility. But if I got a third color, I'm sort of thinking like a dark blue or like some sort of blue would be very interesting with these. But yeah, I'll let you know. I'm not 100% sold on my plans on these yet, but I do love them together. I do still think this is really cool. I will figure something out. If you have any ideas in the comments, or if you have any ideas, please leave them in the comments. I would love to hear what you're thinking for these. I definitely want to keep them together. But yeah, I'm not 100% sold on specifics yet, which I've mentioned before. I don't usually buy yarn without having an idea of what I'm going to make for it. Like I don't need to have a specific pattern, but I usually like to have an idea of what I'm like picturing. And I did when I bought these. I didn't really change my mind until after I got them. So yeah, right now these are kind of in limbo, but that's okay. I will find something to do with them that I love. And I guess the idea just being I want to make sure that I really love whatever I make with them, because they're very nice and squishy and lovely yarns, and I would like to do them justice. So, and then again, to get to that free shipping, I got one more thing from Miss Babs. So this is like beautiful neon blue. This is her Avon base. So this is fingering weight. This is 85% merino wool and 15% silk. It is so soft. Oh my goodness. And this is the color Calypso, which is one of her non-repeatable colors. So this is one of a kind. And yeah, I love it. It was like on the screen, it was like glowing blue when I was like scrolling through on my phone, and I was like, oh my God, I need that. So, and it's so vibrant. Like, I just think this is stunning. And so I'm picturing something, again, I don't have a specific pattern. I'm picturing something like a t-shirt or like some sort of like shorter sleeved garment. And I'm thinking maybe with like a fun lace motif somewhere, or like a fun texture stitch somewhere, like something to really show, like, I don't know, just something fun, something poppy, something like light. And again, I don't have specific plans on this. I've been looking. I have like a few patterns saved that I'm thinking about, but nothing specific that I'm like I just don't know yet. So again, if you have any ideas for this one, I'd love to hear it too. I just think it's going to be, whatever I make in this is going to be so cute, and I am very, very excited to figure this out. But yeah, so that's my whole Miss Babs order. So good little bundle of yarn there, which is a lot of fun. And then I placed one more yarn order. So I mentioned in my goals video, my 2024 goals, that I wanted to knit my first pair of socks. And so the first one I'm going to show you is not an acquisition. I've had this for a while, but this is the skein I have for knitting socks. So this is Knit Pick Stroll in it's Supernova hand painted yarn. So, and it's 75% fine superwash merino wool and 25% nylon. And I just love the colors in this. Like, there's so much going on here. It's so much fun. And my plan was to just knit a pair of vanilla socks with this. But I did kind of think it would be fun to have some contrasting colors in those socks, just to break it up a little bit. Like, I really like the look of really variegated socks, but with the solid toes, heels, and cuffs. I think that's really nice looking and very clean. But I didn't have any, this is literally the only sock yarn I have. So I wanted to acquire some minis of like some bright colors that I could play with and just have in my stash for any projects where I need a little burst of color. Like, I just thought maybe having a few minis would be smart and nice. So again, I might have gone a little crazy. I'm not sure what was going on, but I did stick with knit picks. I did keep this, you know, I didn't go crazy and get like, you know, small hand dyed yarn or anything. This is pretty cost effective. These weren't very expensive. But I got lots of minis. So these are all Stroll. So the exact same base as this from Knit Picks. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I just got like a variety of colors. So lots of fun. I don't know. And I'm thinking I'm torn on what to actually pair with this. Like, I feel like the blue looks really cute. I feel like the yellow even looks kind of cute. It's a bit of a weird combo, but like, I don't hate it. Even the orange, like, again, these are weird combos, but I'm kind of into it. Like, I'm into like a little bit of the funky mix. So we'll see. I haven't decided yet which ones are going with this pair of socks, but I got lots of sock yarn now, so that's fun. So yeah, those are my Knit Picks acquisitions. Also, I completely forgot, but when I ordered from Miss Babs, they also sent little mini samples to swatch with, which I think is so cool. So they sent, this one is the Tarte base, which is 75% merino wool, 15% nylon, and 10% tencel in the colorway corset. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Like, it's so cute. And yeah, it's a 10-yard sample just to swatch with, which is awesome. And then the other one they sent, which I seriously like might buy this yarn. I actually will swatch with this one, and I am very curious to see how it knits up. But this one is the Damask base, and it is also fingering weight. It is 65% cultivated silk and 35% bleached linen. This is the color Tulipa, and it's just gorgeous. Like, you can tell it's cultivated silk because it's just like slightly less, it's not as shiny, and it has a lot of texture, which is really interesting. And then the linen doesn't have the dye, so the linen has all these white threads running through it, and it's seriously just so beautiful. It has this beautiful heathered look. It's really soft, because it's silk. Like, it's definitely got that like really nice like hand feel to it that silk has. Like, I might end up buying this yarn. Like, this is an amazing advertising strategy for, those of us with a bit of yarn addiction. Because now I want this. I want to own this. I want to look at what colors they have. I want this in my life. I'll keep you updated on that. I'm definitely going to swatch with it and see how it knits up. But I could see this being just an absolutely beautiful summer top. So yeah. But yeah, so that is all my acquisitions. That's a lot of acquisitions. I have a lot of yarn right now. So I've got a lot of knitting to do to get through all of that, but that's okay because I love knitting. But yeah, so exciting things, lots of plans. And yeah, with all that being said, that's all I have for the knitting. So if you're only here for the knitting, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. But if you want to stick around for just a couple of minutes, I have some fun updates with my ballet life. And I know I've heard good feedback that you guys like the ballet updates. So I recently finished choreographing my dance for the class that I teach, and I'm so excited. We're working on cleaning it up right now. But I had a fun opportunity come up where I'm actually going to choreograph another piece for some of the more advanced dancers at the studio. And we're performing it at the local art gallery in our town. So it's a little small art gallery, but we're doing a dance that's sort of in the theme of the current showing that they have in their art gallery. And then we're going to perform it inside the art gallery with the art all around. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be so cool. They have a wood floor, which if you've ever danced before, you know that usually you want to do ballet on like a nice marley and like a sprung floor, which gives you the right traction and grip and also like protects your joints a little bit. And so this is a hardwood floor, so I'll have to mess with the choreography a little bit just to keep the dancers safe, but that's fine. I'm not worried about it. But yeah, I'm so excited. It's going to be, I'm doing it to a song by Rodrigo y Gabriela, which are a sort of flamenco duo from Mexico City. And it's going to be a bit of like a flamenco, like salsa ballet hybrid piece. I'm seriously so excited. We only have about a month to get it choreographed, cleaned up, and like ready to go, which is a little stressful. Especially because the piece I just finished choreographing is my very first piece that I've ever choreographed for like, in like a non-student capacity. Like, I've done some like choreography when I was a student, but not as a teacher. And so to go from my very first one to being like thrown into this being like a community event, collaborating with a whole nother, place and a whole different people, and having to do it in a month and in a style that I don't necessarily do all of the time. It's definitely a little overwhelming, but I am so excited about it. Like I feel like it's such a fun creative challenge. And yeah, I will keep you updated on how it goes because this is a first for me and this is just like massive and like so creatively stimulating and yeah, so much fun. I think that's all I have for you guys today. Next week I will be doing, it will not be a knit and chat the way I've been doing them. It's going to be more of like a show and tell and chat, if that makes sense. But I'm going to have an episode all about my thoughts on gift knitting as someone who is a recovering serial gift knitter. Not that there's anything wrong with gift knitting, but I used to literally only gift knit and not keep anything for myself. So I am working on being a slightly more selfish knitter, but I still gift knit quite a bit. But I just thought it'd be fun to go through my thoughts on it from that perspective, from someone who really enjoys gift knitting, who does a lot of it, who has done a lot of it, and, you know, talk about why I do it, what I love about it, what patterns I like to use, who I like to gift knit for, all of those things. And my lovely mother-in-law actually lent me a bunch. I've gift knit for her quite a bit, and she lent me back the things I've gifted her. So I figured I'd do a bit of show and tell and show you. I can actually show you some of the projects that I have gifted and that are being definitely loved by someone who's very, very knit worthy, as they say. So that's the plan for next week. I should be back next Sunday. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked this video, please give it a like. If you have any pattern ideas for me or any comments, I love reading your comments. I read every single one of them. They make my day. Seriously, it makes me so happy. And yeah, if you're new here, please subscribe. I have videos every single Sunday and, love to talk about my knitting with you. So I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.